thanks for continuing to watch this episode of Answering the Call. I'm Pastor Chuck Reese, your show host, executive producer. We're talking about discipleship next with Pastor Lyle Freed, the president for Mount Sinai Ministries in Bayonnais, Haiti. Pastor Lyle, discipleship is such a church word. What's your take on discipleship?
That's so important to me, and it's important here. We do it through the school, but again, St. Victor is now training up other pastors and discipling them to become pastors in the community.
Right.
So as you begin to look at Jesus as the model that we want to become, our goal is to be as much like him as possible. And how do you do that?
Right.
Well, the scriptures tell us how to do that, right?
Right.
And keeping our eyes fixed on him, and that's where our joy and our peace comes from.
Amen. That's good. Prayer support's important. This is a spiritual warfare. Talk about that.
Absolutely. The spiritual warfare here, I recognize now, when we first got here, there was a literal spiritual warfare going on where the voodoo priests would be casting spells, literally trying to throw them over the walls at us. And so it is a strong spiritual battle here. This nation has gone through quite a bit in that regard and still does. And when we come here, we're not free from it either.
When we first came, every night that we'd go to bed and try to go to sleep, you could hear the chanting of the voodoo, mostly all night long. You'd drive down the road and you'd see the flags. And I remember looking into a person's home, and there was a big bowl, and it had blood and feathers in it. And that was just like, whoa. And then when St. Victor started building up the orphanage and he had the church and everything, it just like snowballed.
I am Séjour Saint Victor. I was born here in this mountain. This community used to be a voodoo community. Like if you are educated, you come here, you can be killed. Because voodoo people, they like people who can't read or who is really poor. But if you got education, they can kill you for nothing. In 2006, I was called to come back here just to help. And I said, I don't feel I can come because it's hard, but I keep praying and I see it was good for me to come back. It was not very easy for us. When we just come back in this property, no house, nothing, and no money to build church, and we start praying in the field. We let kids come in the ground. We started with 13 kids, feed them, and we build this little church, and we start school. Now at the orphanage, we have our first kids learning engineering. We also have one in Port-au-Prince of learning like to become a doctor. So that's why we plant education so that we can change this community.
You probably have lots of stories about pressing through and seeing God show up in a big way.
Yeah, God has done so much here, and we've had everything from, the earthquake that interrupted, the second earthquake that interrupted, now we've had the assassination of the president. There's constant food shortages, fuel shortages. That was our concern coming in this time. Did we have enough fuel to make the 6-hour ride?
Right.
Because the gas stations are lacking, and then if you try and buy it in the black market, it's $20 a gallon. Right. Could we even make the trip? There's always a battle. One of the things, like I told you before we came, is we're going to make a really good plan,
right,
and then none of it will happen.
He's directing our steps, right? So it's what's in front of you, what's the next step, what's the next step. But even when you look on the horizon, it can be overwhelming when you see the need. And talk about that. I mean, sometimes you're like, what could I possibly do? How could I possibly make a difference?
And I hear that a lot from people who visit Haiti, that it just seems that the need is so great, being the poorest nation in the hemisphere, that it's like we could never make a difference. But the truth is we can, and that's the beauty of what we've found here in Bayonnais, is it had never been approached before. There was never anyone from the outside. So we can see over the 11 years that we've been here, the changes and the improvements. And while it may not seem like it when you first visit, because it seems like there's still so much to do, I can tell you how far it's come.
Right.
Again, filtered water, plumbing, the rate of disease has dropped dramatically. The number of people who have been saved and found the Lord has gone up dramatically.
Right.
The number of women who die in childbirth has gone down dramatically. Just so many improvements that you may not recognize if you're not here from time to time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, stay tuned. We'll get some more interviews with some of the volunteers, some of the staff that's here working in Haiti, so you too can answer the call and get involved with Mount Sinai Ministries, Bayonnais, Haiti. Keep watching.
If you look at the older boys that have moved on and live other places, and the girls, they're living godly lives. You know, they're coming to church and they're worshiping the Lord and leading worship, you know, and playing the instruments, and just it's such a blessing to see the work that's gone into here and the progress that they've made in developing disciples among the children as they grow.
So me, with my music and my voice, I worship God, and I'm a leader of worship sometimes. Worship in Haiti, you know God and you know what He can do. With new songs, we can worship God.
Mount Sinai Ministries is based in a place that is very forgotten by a lot of people, definitely in America, but even in Haiti. The church here is helping people come out of voodoo and into the gospel of Jesus, helping them know the love of God and the truth of the Lord, and just helping these people that would otherwise be forgotten to be cared for and to have everything that they need provided for them.
Tune in to Overcomers TV on your favorite app or streaming platform. It's time to overcome.